Hi folks, Diner Bob here with more propping up a park. After the last prop video, I had a chat with Mr. Modular, and he pointed out that the bollard really was going to do its job. So here you see a larger one, just embiggening the one I had done in the previous prop video, to a much more suitable size to function, and a way to set it up as a barrier with a cord and connectors to set it up either to block off space or to guide your guests. Moving on, we will take a look at a flame pillar. This one's very simple. It's just the angled concrete pillar with the fire and the brazier stuck on it. You can see a sort of interesting shape where the brazier meets the column, but it might be better off with some sort of collar there hiding that joint. I think it might look better, but you know, your mileage may vary. Both of them would work. This same gimmick can be stretched out in other ways. This is similar to something I did in one of my alpha parks before we had the braziers. So I modularized it so I can maybe someday go back and rebuild something similar to that build. It also has a sort of Jurassic Parky feel, and if you you know double it, spin it over, you can make half of a Jurassic Park gate or something close to it. You might want to put a sign between the two, though, mate. Not exactly my thing, but there it is. The curved pieces that match the columns offer an easy way to make arches. Here you see the round version making a simple arch, and I put a light up in the top of that. You can imagine perhaps a gallery of those. You can do this lighting or some other lighting. On this other one, you see there's some lower lighting. And it gives a slightly different look to the whole thing. This has been stretched down. I don't know, is that a concept even? I don't know. Anyway, so a little bit lower height. The non-round arches, as you can see, give a different effect. If you put one end down, it's narrow at the ground. If you put the other end down, it's wide at the ground and narrow at the top. So they, have a different effect. Naturally, the builder would probably be going for the wide end down. You can also use the pieces and duplicate them, change their width, and get something a little more sculptural. This is the two pieces duplicated and moved up and made narrow, and then also moved down to give a little more sculptural effect. So moving along, we'll take a look at modifying our lights, particularly the lamppost style. Here you see two different takes on that. The first one is using bamboo to sheath the pole, a thinner bamboo for the main bit and a wider for the bottom, and it modified the cap with one of the pipe tubes. The other one gives a little more distressed feel, color matching to the piece used to sheath it. The sheath is actually one of the behind-the-scenes buckets, colored a dark green, and you can see the white bits that give it an aged effect. And those are both the bucket, just stretched differently. So lots you can do to be creative with this system and minimize the number of pieces and still get some pretty neat effects. It's time to leave the night, and we'll take a look at a staff vehicle gate made mostly from variations on the square metal column. I left it black in this case. Obviously, you could recolor it. The sign is made of flattened square special pieces and letters added to it. Just not, nobody but the staff's supposed to go through that. Most of the work went into the latch system. The hasp on the part that would move is a letter. The chain is just a chain sized to fit. And the lock plate our staff would insert their key card into a slot at the top there, and then they can use the handle to make that hasp rotate and free the chain. So, a little bit of security for our gate, I guess. Um, Next up is using pieces to make decorative planters. This is the torus shape in the special pieces stretched out vertically, and it makes this interesting shape. It is great for a planter. It could be a giant planter like this. Probably want something bigger than what's in there right now for a planter that big. But you can then shrink the whole thing down like the one on the left. And of course, it's all recolorable. You might want something that looks sort of terracotta-y if you can find the right color. I mean, they're all good colors that would potentially work with the color scheme. That's terracotta-y. Okay. And you could make the upper part the same or something different, um, all depending on what your aesthetics are and what your chosen aesthetic is for your park. So, uh, having those pieces, you could stretch them out, make an elongated planter, and make all the changes I mentioned. And you see just beyond it, if you forget the mulch and take that bottom piece and pull it up to the top, you can make a plinth. Um, and again, you can recolor it. Um, so, you can put a statue on it like Mr. Rex here. And I get him lined up and then just size him to a suitable size for the plinth and get him standing up on there and pretty balanced forward and aft and left and right for a good look. So roar, it's a useful thing to do with that piece. So we're going to move along to some physically smaller things with a few more pieces. Here's an emergency hydrant, the sort of thing you might want to hook up hoses to in case of a fire or in case of an escaped animal, perhaps convincing them not to eat your guests or go back to, or to convince them to go back to their enclosure. This is all the piping pieces in various configurations and sizings. Park firefighters would obviously have the tools to make this accessible. Speaking of fires, however, how about a fire extinguisher with a wall bracket to mount it on? The base cylinder is from the special pieces. The nozzle is actually a stretched out bucket. If you look very carefully, you can see a little tiny bit of the bail showing up. The hose is cylindrical special pieces made real small and making up the tube. And once again, making stuff real small lets you get the effect of some of the fittings on pieces like this. Um, just once again, the modular scaling system making all kinds of builds not only possible but easy. There's a little trick I've got going on using the cylinder to make the bulk of the cylinder. To make that kind of where you can see the cylinder through the latch thing, there is another copy of that cylinder that's just a smidgen bigger, and I pulled it out from the cylinder. It's hard to perceive when the whole thing's together, but it is definitely there. Um, Let me see if I can get that cursor onto it. There we go. Right there. Um, just, you know, that's the shape, and it just pops out of the cylinder that's being the band. A little bit of visual trickery. You might consider building a box for it in more publicly accessible places, the sort of break glass in case of fire stuff. Onto an electrical box, useful thing to have on the side of the building. This is a trick with the ventilation, square ventilation shafts, and being the base of it to give the rims and a drain pipe for the conduit down the bottom, and the special piece to make the green box and also the door. Uh, the lightning bolt is made out of letters in colored yellow, and the latch is similar to what you saw in Props 1. And there's even a little emergency light on there to let you know if there's current in the system when you're working on it. We don't want to electrocute our park electricians. At least I don't want to. So the statues are great when you flatten them down. They make excellent bas reliefs. Um, and just as before they hit a blackened state is what you want. If you go too far, you'll reverse the apparent relief of the animal and it'll look a little weird. They can also be used to make plaques by putting them on a flattened column, to like the wooden column. You could use the metal columns as well. Um, Pretty much any material, even one of the specialty pieces, if you wanted to put it on color. Put it in your gift shop. I know I have. You could frame it if you want. There's a couple of different ways to do that. The specialty box can make a sort of frame that the wood functions as a proud of the surface kind of look, which is kind of neat. It's sometimes a little fussy to deal with these things. Um, and now you know why most of these things were finished before we took our tour of what you can do with these things. Um, you can change the color if you use that piece for different fields or to coordinate with different materials for the actual plaque. You could also build a frame if you wanted to. For that, you need something like one of the column pieces, either wood or metal, your choice. I'm using wood here. Since it matches the plaque, because it's the same piece, I'm going to want to change the color as well as the size. So maybe make it a little darker. And then start playing with the size. The usual sort of thing. You make one side what you want, get it as long as you need it to be, with the relief you need it to be. And when you're happy with that, duplicate it and slide it over to the other side, and then spin it over 90 degrees, line it up and size it either top or bottom, and then duplicate it for whichever one you didn't do it for. So this is kind of the last piece I've got for this prop video at the moment. May do some more down the road. Probably go back to park building for the next video. So thanks for stopping by. If you like these videos, as always, click the like button. Subscribe if you want to encourage me to keep doing these things. I know I keep saying that, but it's still true. Take care and be well.